because I know you're part of the Olympic movement in Kenya. Maybe your tribute to the late Waithaka Kioni. Let me start with that.
For Kioni, I've known him for quite a long time, and we used to call each other co-presidents, and it was a joke or a saying or a bond that we had. And he's somebody who you'd always talk to and agree, and he will always guide you in terms of certain areas where you needed. When you talk about sports administrators who would make sense in what they talk, Waithaka Kioni was amongst the people who you'd be able to rely on. If you remember, after the Rio event for the Olympic Committee, when you were doing the change of the constitution, Kioni was amongst the people who helped in pushing forward the agenda in terms of having a new constitution for the Olympic body. So, as they say, when death comes, it is a path where all of us have to go. Let's say, I will not say we are mourning, we need to celebrate the time we've spent together with the departed, and we need to make sports to be better based on what dreams and visions he had in terms of trying to push forward the development of sports, and that is something we cannot forget. We've had a lot of people who've passed on. When you look at who are great leaders in sports, if you look at the late, for example, we had Tom Omombo, we had Joshua Okuthe, we had Stanley Washaga. All those were just people who helped in putting Kenya on the global stage. So to the family of Waithaka Kioni, we mourn together, we cry together. You're not alone in terms of losing. Also, as a sports family, we have lost. And I believe whatever goes next is something that we have to do in terms of honoring Kioni by how we work and how we engage each other.
Oh. Well, there are the pictures of the late Waithaka Kioni, who passed away last week. It was a shock to the country. And thank you, Andrew, for starting us off with a tribute to the late Waithaka Kioni. And, you know, also for the sporting family, two of his sons got into motorsport. David was driving, and Mwangi navigated even at the highest level at WRC events. Now, Andrew, the reason here today is because Kenya is hosting the African Championships, Club Championship, Table Tennis Championships. First, just give us a background of Kenya getting to host this huge event after, what I would say, 5 years.
Yes. Now, in terms of table tennis, when we talk about hosting, I can say that over the years, Kenya has been hosting major events, and Kenya was the first nation in Africa to host a World Cup of any event. That is, when you talk about a World Cup, when you talk about Football World Cup and all that, Kenya became the first in terms of table tennis. It was a first event.
That was way back when, 89?
Yes, when we had the 5x5 World Cup where the best players came down. Then from there, we've been hosting the Africa Championships. We've hosted the Commonwealth Games. Now, there was a period and a gap that the country took in terms of hosting of events. And then we revived the hosting of events in 2018 when we hosted the Africa Cup, which was also a World Cup qualifier here in Kasarani. Now, that tournament that we hosted in 2018, it was voted as the best organized event in the entire world by the ITTF in 2018. So Kenya got an award for that. Now,
congratulations. Yeah. Because at least I know the story of the tournament.
Yes. Now, this time round is that when Corona hit, I can rightly say that we have not yet fully recovered in terms of the sports in the world. Like Corona hit us, then the whole world is in a financial crisis. It is not just Kenya. Now that takes a lot of planning that you need to do. Now, if our players cannot be able to travel outside and get points and move their game to the next level, then the easiest way to do it, which Kenya Table Tennis is looking at, is that we need to host events here locally so that our players are more exposed, our players are able to get points and earn points. And the next thing after this event, what we are looking at is maybe having 2 foreign coaches coming and being positioned here in Kenya, because we understand in terms of the financial crisis that is there. So the hosting of the club is to push up, excite the Kenyan public, push up the game locally. And then the Africa Cup, we have players who have been there, like Brian Mutua, we have Josea Wandera, we have Peter Theuri, and in the side of the ladies, we have Lisa Wele, we have Setei and Bahati Rufina and Mary Kinuthia. So for them, they have to move forward in terms of how will they be able to compete with the best of Africa.
Now, the first thing is table tennis is known to be an individual sport. The alternative is playing the doubles, mixed or single gender. Just tell us about how the club championship is structured.
Yes. Now, the club will have the men and the ladies playing on their own. Now, the rules which we are looking at, it is all singles. There is no doubles in the event that will be played. So it's for each match that you are playing, it is 3 players will be playing in any match. Then it's a best of 5. The person who wins 3, they take it. They earn that match. They will be declared winners of that particular match.
Okay, let's just get this. So you've got 3 players. I'm trying to think of, because it's singles now, so I'm trying to think of it from maybe the Davis Cup format.
Yes.
So how do these 3 play against
let me say, I can put it this way. There is Team Mudibo and Team Wahome. We are playing against each other. I've got 3 players on my side. You've got 3 players on your end. Now, 2 players will play 2 games. 1 player will play only one single. So it is like 2 singles, and then a reverse single now comes in.
Well, that makes it very easy. So out of the 5, which means that if somebody wins 3, a team wins 3, then
yes, they don't need to do the reverse singles. They've won the match.
How many clubs have shown interest? Because we know that the African Championship is more by, I would say, more by invitation and ranking.
Yes.
With Kenya getting the benefit of being the host nation. What about the clubs?
For the clubs and also let's say the World Cup qualifiers, we have until 20th of this month, that is on Thursday, for us to be able to know the actual number that the world body would have sent to us, that these are the final teams. But as of, let's say now, we have Egypt has confirmed, Djibouti has confirmed, we have players from Nigeria, from Morocco, from Algeria, we have Kenya. So the number is still increasing, and the good thing is that the club will act as a build-up for the players. It's more like a build-up and a warm-up for the World Cup qualifiers or the Africa Cup, because their players have to earn points. All players are chasing points. Right now, the international body is using a point system, where if you don't get points, then you lose out on a lot. Now, this one will also count. If the Olympics, let's not forget, the Olympics is also coming up in Paris next year. So the more points you pick up, the better for you as a player.
Now, when looking at the numbers, how are the teams now going to be pulled, and what's the structure of the competition? Are you looking at a group phase followed by a knockout, or is it by a trophy till you get the final 2?
It will be a group. It will be by group, and then from the groups you now get into the knockout, and then you get into the winner. Yes.
Now, you also serve in the global body. Maybe you could just fully explain this point system and how, for example, it works at the club championship, and later also at the world qualifiers.
As we know, like for table tennis, we've got 2 kind of rankings. We have the team ranking and we have the individual ranking. Now, you need to participate in many events. Like, for example, if it is the team, like we went to Djibouti the other month, and we played in the team. Now, in alternative years, we have points that are given. If it is the ranking for clubs, let's say teams, the international body will use those rankings, so that if you go for any major event, those rankings are the ones that will be used. It's the same also with the individuals. With the individuals, we have an event called WTT, which is the World Table Tennis. It's an event that is played every month in different countries. Now, players have to go and earn points from there. Now, for us in Kenya, I don't think our Kenyan players will have those finances in terms of traveling the entire world just to get all the points. So the least that you can be able to do is try and get points in the local events, the international event that we are going to host.
What were the experiences in Djibouti for the team that played out there, the outcomes, and things that from the federation you see that you'll keep doing to improve the sport?
Now, Djibouti, we went to Djibouti after not participating in an international event for close to, let me say, 1 year. So that was something that affected our players. The other thing is that our players were not sure, because initially, before Djibouti, our players were supposed to have traveled to Ethiopia for the regional event.
Yes.
Now, if you don't play in the regional event, you cannot play in any other continental event. You are locked out. So that time, Kenya was locked out. You are not able to. Then the easiest shot that we had was to go and play in Nigeria for the World Cup qualifier, which also never took place. Our team never went. Now, at that time, Kenya's ranking was good. We were, I think, ranked number 60 and 71 in both men and women in terms of team. But by not going and not participating in the regional events, Kenya ended up now going down. And that could be seen in Djibouti. The techniques and everything was there, but you could see that there was something that was missing. The fighting spirit was not there in terms of our players. And that's why we are saying that there's need to bring in foreign coaches who can work with the local players here so that we gain back into what we had lost. We want coaches who can come in and work with the juniors and also work with the senior national team.
So coming in as you get into this, let's finish basically about the club championship eventually. What's going to be, given the number that you have, how are you going to pull these teams eventually when the draws will be, when the draws will be done, and then how the competition works at the knockout phase?
Now, Kenya is only a host. The international body and continental body have got people who have been assigned. We have a referee for the event and a competition manager. They'll be coming into the country by 28th, 29th, let's say by 28th. They will do the draw, they will run everything. So for us as Kenya, ours is just to facilitate the accommodation, the venue, transport, and making sure everything works out. But the event still remains a property of Africa Table Tennis and the International Table Tennis Federation.
Well, just like any, what would you say? It's more like an Africa Cup of Nations.
Yes.
At the club championships, still owned by the event. Now, with this, and at some point in some of these competitions, what's at stake? I mean, financially for the clubs, for the players? Is it pride? Is it the trophy? Is it the money?
Most of the time people look at the financial bit. But as a sports athlete, it shouldn't be about money. It should be about you pushing your talent to the highest level. I know when you talk about money, it shouldn't be the money that is maybe allocated here. That money might not be enough.
Yes.
But if I push myself to the highest, then I'm able to get endorsements from different sponsors. And I think that's what matters. You're able now to push and open up your basket rather than just relying on this one. On this one, yes, there'll be money. But most importantly, we all want to play in the Olympics. So I think money at this point would not be better. For me, if I want to play in the Olympics, it is the points that I'm chasing. I have to get those points.
Now, let's move on now to the World Cup qualifiers for Africa. So what's the invite? I know in 2018,
yes,
it was a restricted field of about, 16. So yes, Kenya, by virtue of being the hosts, had the benefit of having a couple of athletes. Brian Mudibo was there, and the lady, what's her name?
Sejal.
Sejal.
Yes.
Having to compete. Now, just give us the criteria of having this athletes here.
Now, this time round is that each country in Africa, we have 54 members in Africa. Now, for the men and ladies, each country is supposed to, or they're supposed to enter a maximum of 2 players. Apart from Kenya, who are the host, will be allowed to enter 4 players in each category, in the men and the ladies. So based on the confirmation of entries that come in, that will also determine how many pools will be put in. And that will be done by the referees as they come in.
Actually, that sounds, I mean, just by the sound of it, if you have 20 nations bringing in their athletes,
yes,
then it means that the competition will be brutal. For you to get into now the final phase means you have to be at the top.
You have to be at the top
of your pool.
You have to be at the top of your pool, and that is why it's important for our Kenyan players that it is not a matter of participation. It's a matter of being competitive in where the pool that you are. Table tennis being individual. There's no secret formula. We can only help you and push you to a certain level, but the rest is yours as a person.
So here comes the real part of it. After the pool phase, just tell how the ranking system is going to operate. Has it changed from what we saw in 2018 when the numbers were restricted and now?
Yes, the ranking will change because we are looking at the world ranking, and then the world ranking is what will be used in this event. Like now, for example, in 2018, we had Asa Omar and we had Aruna. Both of them have already confirmed they are coming for this event. In the ladies' side, we had Dina Meshrif, and we have the fastest or the best junior player from the Egyptian, Hannah Goda, who is also coming and very talented. I am sure as Africa, we'll see Hannah Goda, the Egyptian, going high, maybe being the highest ranked female player from Africa ever in international table tennis events.
Well, that's something that I would like to see, because I've seen Aruna Kadri play, and at times you think maybe you're just slowing. I mean, it's like if you play against him, it's like you're playing in slow motion, given the kind of speed that he has.
Yes.
Now, something that people do not know about table tennis is that the infrastructure can be costly, that is required to play a tournament at this level. Just give us a background as to how that Kasarani indoor arena will change for the club championships and for the world qualifiers.
Like we did in 2018, we had to put in a new flooring. When you talk about flooring, it's a rubber flooring, which this time round we're also putting. We are going to put in now the new tables will be also be put in. When you talk about the tables that we have that will be used for that event, one table is nearly $500,000, so it's expensive in terms of hosting. And when you talk about expensive in terms of the equipment, it's that we have to use standard equipment, international equipment. It's not a matter of building a table or buying just a table and bringing it in and putting it there. Now, Butterfly are the official sponsors or equipment sponsors for Africa events. And what we are using is the Butterfly equipment. I know people think that when you buy maybe a racket from a sports shop or even a textbook center, a bookshop, then you can always use that racket to play. No. There are rubbers that need to be bought. There are blades that you need to use at the topmost level. So in terms of how it will be done, it's just the same as how we did in 2018. All that setup will be done. And I'm sure you were part of it in 2018.
Yes.
And the whole venue was different. It was not the same as how it was Kasarani.
Now, you mentioned about the table, because I'll use the concept of a pool table.
Yes.
There are those which are used at high-level competitions. You'll find that at times it's not just wood, it's marble. But what about the surface that you use? Because we know the standard green table we've played with in high school, in the community. How different is this sponsored equipment?
The table that we're using is blue. It's the blue table, Butterfly table. And it's a table that you'll find anywhere in major events, international events that are being played in the world. Like now, I can see Brian, like the players who are playing, it's on the blue table where Brian is playing. It's the same kind of table that will be used. So nothing different. It's the same, and the most important thing is that the bounce is consistent. It is the same bounce anywhere in the table.
Now, something common I realized also with volleyball and table tennis.
Yes.
Even the kit you use.
Yes.
It's not that I just get into a shop or just get any sponsor. It has to be approved.
You know, internationally, let's say like in volleyball, even in football, international bodies need to make money. And that is where issues of now kit comes in, or even the playing equipment. It has to be equipment that has been passed by the international bodies. So they also need to get revenue from these international companies. Most of the time, the international company, for them, they're in business. They need to sell their products.
Yes.
And that is why they would also like to get an advantage in terms of kit that is being used, rackets that are being used, rubbers that are being used, tables that are being used, even the flooring that is being used.
And that means even the shoes, because you've got to have the right shoes to play on that flooring.
Yes, you must have the right shoes that you play in that flooring. It's like when you look at football, you might have studs for the normal grass, and you might have the shoes that you play on an artificial pitch. They are not the same.
Okay. Now, given that surface, how do you check against crafty people? You know, there are people who will go stir some sugar, apply it on the soles, so that they have some grip in the movement.
The good thing is that for table tennis, we have the referees. Under the referees, you have umpires. Now, that team is what will be the technical team that works out and checks on everything that is there. And in major international events, we do have, like for the rubbers, let's say the rackets. For table tennis, we also test the glue. We also look at the rubbers, if the rubbers are okay or not. So all that is done, there's a testing that is done. Yeah. And that one is called the racket control in terms of that for table tennis.
Then we'll have basically a properly controlled tournament. Now, let me talk about Brian Mutua. And 5 years on, I know he also received a scholarship, Solidarity Scholarship from the National Olympic Committee of Kenya. He was sponsored for that. And he also spent time in Europe. What has his growth been, the benefits from this sponsorship, scholarship that you helped him get?
For now, Brian is still under the Olympic Solidarity Scholarship. He's supposed to be going down to France, and we are looking at, after France, if he's able to go to Denmark. But apart from that, since this is an individual sport, what we were looking at was to put more players to be able to go with Brian. For example, we are looking at in terms of, like, for the ladies also, like Lisa Wale and Mary Kinuthia. And for Brian, we are looking at adding maybe two other players who can be able to join him, so that when they come back, their performance will not go down. Because when they train in France, their level is high, they train with good players and all that. But when they come back here, I'm not saying that our Kenyan players are not good. They are good, but their level is where it has reached. It has to go higher. So if we send more players abroad to go and train and play, then when they come back, it's easy for them now to play together and also lift the others.
Well, there you've had it from Andrew Mudibo. He's the president of Table Tennis Kenya. Now, everyone asks, from that first week, from the 1st to the 6th of May, any charges about Kasarani, what people should know, and how to follow the event?
At Kasarani, we're not going to charge for spectators to come in. It will be free for spectators to come in, because we want Kenyans to enjoy sports. And right now, we are also asking for the corporate world to come in and with whatever they have in terms of supporting the event, because at the end of the day, it is not Kenya table tennis. It is Kenya as a country that is showcasing to the world.
Well, as we close, there's the Olympics, by the way, the qualification for Africa. Several sports have felt the impact of the African Games being postponed to March next year. So what's the qualification, what's the pathway for the Olympics at the moment?
Initially for Africa, we were looking at the All African Games, but with the All African Games being moved to March next year in Ghana, then the world body should be sending out a proper pathway that will be done in terms of, like for Africa, what is the qualification event that we are having. Most likely in September, we might be going down maybe to Tunisia to play for either the singles or the team. And then we'll now come into the other, what has been set, that has been agreed by the world body and the IOC.
Well, let's hope that comes close, because once the postponement of the games, which was scheduled for August, all plans went into disarray for the continent, and we hope all the best. Thank you very much, Andrew, for being with us. I know you've got to go and push for this event to take place. It's taking place at the Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani, the indoor arena. So you will see a total change of that arena, and you can see the surfaces, the rubber surface that he talks about, and the little paddocks that will be there, plus what would be the center court where the big names will be playing. So look out for that. The club championships, the first 3 days of August, and then After that, we're going to have the qualifiers for the Table Tennis World Cup. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wahome.
We'll be taking a short break. And remember that Kenya is hosting events and quite a number of events. Kenya, this weekend or for the next 2 weeks or so, the rugby family in Kenya is concentrating on the Bartes Cup, which is the Under-20 African Championship organized by Rugby Africa. Then after that, there's going to be the Junior World Rugby Trophy. Now, this is a top-tier tournament. If you want to play in the Under-20 Rugby World Cup, it's the JWRT, as it is known. Plus, also, the Simbas are playing in the Currie Cup First Division, 3 matches to be hosted. So, the next few months for the Kenya Rugby Union are busy, and we've got Moses Ndale, the Vice Chair, joining us shortly.